The only solution for barren alien girls was a human man. Under the copper twilight of Aelthira's horizon, Marcus brought his ship down with all the grace of a drunk goose in a wind tunnel. The NAV computer kept repeating, "Optimal trajectory achieved," but the sparks shooting across the cockpit suggested otherwise. He slapped the console until it quieted, muttering, "Yeah, sure, optimal, if the goal is to terrify every bird on this planet." When the landing struts finally kissed the soil, the ship let out a groan that sounded far too judgmental for a machine. He unbuckled, stretched, and immediately smacked his head on the overhead panel. "Smooth, Marcus. Very heroic. The first human ambassador to this world, and you've already lost a duel with a ceiling." He rubbed the sore spot and glanced through the viewport. The landscape stretched in shimmering purples and greens, the air itself rippling, as if painted by an indecisive artist. Floating crystal towers spiraled toward the clouds, bending light into rainbow halos. Beautiful, yes. Terrifying, also, yes. The guild briefing had warned him that Aelthira was a fragile world in decline. They had not mentioned that it looked like the inside of a disco ball. The hatch hissed open, and heat licked at his face, along with a faint smell of ozone and something suspiciously like cinnamon. Waiting outside were women, dozens of them, all tall, graceful, luminous-skinned, their long ears twitching with unspoken tension. Marcus froze, halfway down the ramp, suddenly aware that his shirt was stained with engine grease, and his hair looked like he'd lost a bet with static electricity. He raised a hand. "Hi. I come in peace. Preferably with snacks." They didn't laugh. Not at first. Their gazes weighed on him like an entire planet's worth of judgment. He had the distinct sense that these women weren't assessing him as a guest, but as inventory. Finally, one of them stepped forward. She moved like moonlight, deliberate, steady, unshakable. Her eyes locked onto his, and Marcus's throat went dry. "If you refuse us," she said, her voice calm but trembling at the edges, "our kind ends tonight." Marcus blinked. "Wow. Okay. You don't waste time with small talk, do you?" "No, welcome to Aelthira. No, mind the gravity fluctuations. Just straight to—" He gestured vaguely. "Apocalypse dating proposals." A ripple of amusement broke through the crowd, soft giggles slipping free, and their ears twitched like reeds in a breeze. Serenya, that was her name, though he wouldn't learn it until later, did not laugh. She held her ground, her gaze fierce. He scratched the back of his neck. "Listen, I thought I was here to chart some stars, maybe trade a few recipes." "You're talking about what exactly? Intergalactic matchmaking services? Because my profile picture is terrible, I should warn you." This time, even Serenya's mouth twitched, though she quickly buried it. "Your biology," she said, the words heavy with reverence and despair, "is the key we have sought. Every daughter of Aelthira is born barren. Without you, there will be no children, no future." Marcus stared at her, then at the sea of anxious, expectant faces. He wanted to laugh, not because it was funny, but because it was the kind of cosmic absurdity that begged for laughter. He had braved asteroid storms, dodged pirate raiders, even accidentally joined a karaoke contest on a mining colony once, but this was new territory. "So let me get this straight," he said slowly. "You want me to save your species, with my very human contribution?" "Yes," Serenya replied simply. Marcus rubbed his temples. "I didn't pack nearly enough coffee for this conversation." The silence stretched, heavy as the sky above. Then, because his nerves couldn't tolerate the weight of their stares, he blurted, "Look, I'm flattered, really. Back home, I can't even get a second date without someone ghosting me. And now here I am, being asked to repopulate an entire planet. I'm starting to think maybe the universe has a twisted sense of humor." That finally earned real laughter. Not cruel, not mocking, relieved. The women's ears flicked and shimmered like silver pennants, their laughter like wind chimes. For the first time since landing, Marcus felt the tension ease. Not gone, not solved, but softened. Serenya stepped closer, close enough for him to see the faint glow threading through her skin, like constellations hidden beneath the surface. "You think this is a jest," she murmured. "But for us, there's no jest. You are not visitor, Captain Marcus. You are our only chance." He opened his mouth to argue, but her eyes, calm storms, patient and relentless, silenced him. The weight of their desperation pressed down on his shoulders, heavier than any gravity shift. And yet, beneath it all, he felt a spark of something absurd, something that made him want to laugh even as he wanted to weep. "Well," he said finally, exhaling a shaky breath, "guess I really know how to make an entrance." The crowd laughed again, softer this time, and the alien sun dipped lower on the horizon, painting them all in molten gold. Marcus stood there, a reluctant hero with grease on his shirt and confusion in his heart, realizing that somehow, against all logic, against all probability, his life had just become the most complicated punchline in the galaxy. Marcus discovered very quickly that being the only human on Aelthira was like being the only slice of cake at a children's birthday party. Every pair of eyes followed him with an intensity that was equal parts admiration, curiosity, and hunger. Not literal hunger, though he wasn't entirely convinced at first. The Aelthiran women had a way of watching him as if he were both a puzzle and a prize. He would have called it flattering, except most days it felt more like standing in front of a firing squad armed with clipboards. Serenya, appointed as his guide, a word Marcus suspected translated loosely to babysitter, led him through the floating districts that hovered above the violet seas. He tried to keep his cool, but his first step off the docking ramp nearly sent him sprawling. The gravity here shifted every few meters, like someone had programmed it after a long night of drinking. "Great," he muttered as he stumbled, arms windmilling. First test of the species-saving hero, walking in a straight line without face-planting. Serenya caught his arm with practiced grace, her long ears flicking with what might have been amusement. "You adapt poorly," she said. "It's part of my charm," Marcus replied, straightening his jacket. "Humans like to keep things unpredictable. Keeps the universe interesting." She didn't answer, though her twitching ears betrayed the laugh she refused to release. They reached the market district, where luminous stalls overflowed with foods that glowed faintly, humming with a sound Marcus prayed wasn't sentient. Serenya handed him a fruit shaped suspiciously like a jellyfish. "Eat." He held it at arm's length. "Back home, food doesn't usually pulsate, unless it's been in the fridge too long." "Eat," she repeated, her voice patient but edged with command. Against his better judgment, Marcus bit into it. Sweetness exploded across his tongue, like a sugar rush powered by rocket fuel. His knees nearly buckled. "Okay, wow. That's dangerous. I feel like I could fight a black hole now, or at least run laps around her gravity maze." For a fleeting moment, Serenya's lips curved, just enough to hint at the smile she usually hid. Marcus decided right then that her rare smiles were worth every confusing bite of alien cuisine. But beneath the humor and the markets, the reality pressed closer each day. Everywhere he went, whispers followed. Women paused in their work to watch him, ears angled like radar dishes. Serenya explained, finally, that the council had announced his arrival as the turning point of their civilization. Marcus groaned. "You couldn't have just told them I was here to do a survey? A little light sightseeing? Maybe draw some maps?" "You are not a tourist," Serenya said softly. "You are destiny." He threw his hands up. "Fantastic. No pressure at all. Just the hopes of an entire civilization hanging on my DNA. I can't even keep a houseplant alive." Still, Serenya guided him toward the chamber where the ancient conduits lay. The structures were vast crystal spires, humming with dormant energy, relics from a time when Aelthira's science was indistinguishable from magic. According to Serenya, these conduits could bond two minds, weaving their genetic codes into something new. Marcus eyed the glowing machinery warily. "So this is your version of a fertility clinic? I was picturing more, candles, mood lighting, Barry White." Serenya tilted her head. "I do not know this Barry White." "You're better off," Marcus said quickly. The first test of the conduit was purely diagnostic, or so Serenya insisted. He stepped into the chamber, where shimmering strands of light wrapped around his body, like curious snakes. The AI that managed the system immediately announced in a cheerful voice, "Unfamiliar genome detected. Congratulations. You may be a miracle or a catastrophic error." Marcus groaned. Story of my life. The light tightened, lifting him slightly off the floor. He yelped. Hey, I didn't sign up for the levitation package. Remain calm, the AI said. Your vital signs suggest mild panic. Yeah, mild now. Give it a second. You'll get fireworks. Serenya watched with an unreadable expression, though her twitching ears betrayed silent laughter. For Marcus, the ordeal ended with him dumped unceremoniously on the floor, the AI announcing. Compatibility potential. High, with likelihood of humorous side effects. When Marcus sat up, dazed, Serenya extended her hand to help him. It responds, she said quietly, wonder sparking in her eyes. Yeah, Marcus muttered, rubbing his sore backside. Responds by throwing me around like a rag doll. Real romantic. Still, as they left the chamber, Marcus felt something stir in him that wasn't just bruised dignity. For all his jokes, for all his fumbling, he could not ignore the truth Serenya carried in her gaze. He was the missing key. And though he wanted to laugh, part of him understood that laughter was the only thing standing between him and the crushing weight of being responsible for a species' survival. That night, alone in his quarters, Marcus stared out at the violet horizon. Somewhere beyond, stars flickered like scattered promises. He whispered to himself, Congratulations, Marcus. You've officially become the galaxy's weirdest last hope. Then, after a pause, he added, and probably its most exhausted. Sleep took him eventually, though even in dreams he heard Serenya's voice, steady and certain, telling him what he still struggled to believe, that destiny had a sense of humor, and somehow it had chosen him. Marcus had always suspected that if the universe ever asked him to perform a miracle, it would involve duct tape, not divine destiny. Standing in the center of the crystalline chamber for the second attempt, he decided he'd have preferred the duct tape. The conduits glowed around him, humming like 1,000 overcaffeinated bees. Serenya stood opposite, her hands steady, her gaze even steadier. She looked like she was ready for battle. Marcus looked like he was ready for a dental appointment. The AI's cheerful voice rang out again. Initializing bonding sequence. Please remain calm. Side effects may include dizziness, nausea, emotional revelations, and mild existential crises. Marcus groaned. Mild. Last time I nearly invented new curse words. You should really upgrade your definition of mild. Your sarcasm has been noted and archived, the AI replied pleasantly. Serenya's long ears twitched, betraying the laughter she hid behind her stern expression. She extended her hands toward him. It will not work unless you focus. Focus on what? Not screaming. Because I can try that. Focus on me, she said simply. That shut him up. He hesitated, then placed his hands against hers. The crystals around them brightened, weaving threads of light that coiled like living things. For a moment, Marcus felt weightless. Then he wasn't in the chamber anymore. He was standing in a memory that wasn't his. He saw Serenya as a child, ears smaller but already graceful, standing beneath the sky alive with auroras. He felt her longing, her quiet grief, the unspoken knowledge that no child of her kind would ever cradle her own daughter. The sensation was so sharp he almost stumbled. Whoa, he muttered, his voice echoing strangely. Okay, this is new. Are we in your head? Or mine? Or is this a timeshare situation? Her voice brushed against him, clear and private as thought. This is the conduit. Our minds meet. Great, Marcus said. So if I start thinking about embarrassing things, like, say, the time I tripped into a fountain during my academy graduation, you'll see that too? A pause. Then the faintest smile tugged at her lips, even in this shared space. Yes. Fantastic. Privacy is overrated anyway. The memory dissolved into a swirl of light, then shifted again. This time Marcus saw flashes of his own past, his first rickety shuttle flight, the laughter of his crewmates on long voyages, the crushing loneliness of empty starfields when the laughter faded. He tried to push those feelings down, but Serenya's presence pressed gently against them, not judging, simply there. He swallowed hard. So this is what you meant by bonding. Not just DNA, but everything. Yes. The lights surged suddenly, as if agreeing with her. Energy wrapped around them, tugging harder. Marcus's heart hammered. He tried to steady his breathing, but the chamber tilted, spinning in every direction at once. He shouted, "If this is what romance feels like, no wonder I'm single." The AI chimed in cheerfully. Warning: subject experiencing elevated panic. Suggestion: deep breathing, affirmations, or singing. Not singing. Marcus yelled as he tumbled. Nobody deserves that. The surge collapsed with a crackle. Marcus hit the floor with a grunt, light fading from around him. Serenya staggered but remained upright, her ears trembling. For a long moment, silence stretched between them. Finally, Marcus groaned, rolling onto his back. So, success? Or are we just making the crystals laugh at us? Serenya knelt beside him, her gaze softer than before. It failed, but something happened. Yeah, Marcus muttered. My spine just resigned. She ignored his joke. I felt you. Your memories. Your sorrow. He blinked at her. Wait, you saw all that? Even the fountain thing. Her lips twitched. Yes. He covered his face with his hands. Great. Absolutely great. The one person who thinks I'm supposed to save her planet now knows I fell headfirst into decorative landscaping. But despite the self-deprecation, he couldn't deny what had shifted. For the first time since he landed on Aelthira, the weight pressing on him didn't feel like a burden alone. Serenya had carried it too, if only for a moment. They walked out of the chamber together, Marcus limping theatrically for sympathy. The watching crowd looked disappointed at the lack of glowing miracles. He raised his hands. Don't worry, folks. We're just in the testing phase. You can't rush genius. Or whatever this is. Later, in quieter corridors, Serenya stopped him. Do not joke about this. He turned to face her, surprised by the intensity in her voice. She stepped closer, her expression fierce. You are more than a visitor. The conduit chose to reveal itself. That means hope. Marcus met her gaze, the joke dying in his throat. Yeah, he said softly. Hope and headaches. She tilted her head, ears flicking in confusion, but her eyes stayed warm. That night, Marcus lay awake, replaying the strange intimacy of the conduit. Serenya's memories haunted him. The loneliness, the desperate resolve. He wondered if she had seen his loneliness too, if she had recognized it as the same shape as hers. He whispered into the dark. Guess we're both doomed romantics, huh? The AI in the corner chirped. Affirmative. Marcus threw a pillow at it. Marcus was beginning to think he had finally earned a moment of peace when the frying pan incident happened. It started with him wandering into the communal kitchens, lured by the smell of something that resembled pancakes if pancakes were neon blue, and occasionally levitated off the grill. He was humming to himself, pan in hand, when the attack came. 3 masked figures burst through the entryway, their weapons crackling with green plasma. Marcus froze. The pan clattered in his grip. Seriously? I can't even make breakfast without an assassination attempt? Do you people schedule these? The intruders lunged. Marcus, running on adrenaline and sheer bad luck, swung the frying pan like a sword. To his surprise, it connected with a loud gong, sending one attacker sprawling. The others hesitated, clearly unsure whether to be impressed or embarrassed. Marcus blinked down at his improvised weapon. Okay, that worked way better than expected. By the time Serenya and the guards arrived, Marcus had somehow managed to fend off all 3, mostly by tripping over furniture and letting chaos do the rest. The final blow was a pan slap that sent the leader's mask flying. The guards dragged the would-be kidnappers away while Serenya stood in the doorway, her ears twitching violently as if trying to decide between fury and laughter. You fought them, she said finally. With cookware, Marcus corrected, holding up the dented pan. I'm telling you, humanity's greatest invention. Heat food, knock out villains, very versatile. Word spread quickly. By the end of the day, children were trailing after him chanting Pan Wielder, as if it were a legendary title. Marcus tried to shush them, but deep down, he secretly liked it. After all, not every human could say they defended themselves with breakfast utensils on an alien world. Still, the attack revealed something darker. Serenya explained in hushed tones that factions within Aelthira opposed trusting Marcus. Some believed relying on an outsider was dishonor. Others simply wanted his DNA, without his cooperation. Marcus paled. So I'm basically a walking target. Great. I should have asked for hazard pay. Serenya's expression softened. You are more than a target. You are hope. And hope is always hunted. He rubbed the back of his neck. You know, you're really good at making terrifying things sound poetic. Despite his jokes, the attack pushed Marcus deeper into Aelthiran politics. The council summoned him, their tall figures glowing faintly in the crystalline hall. They asked if he would continue the rituals despite the danger. Marcus leaned back in his chair, trying to look confident, and not like someone who had nearly been vaporized that morning. Look, if I can survive 3 plasma rifles with a frying pan, I can probably survive your rituals. Worst case, I invent a new dance move. The council did not laugh, but Serenya's ears flicked with suppressed amusement. Together, she and Marcus began investigating why the rituals kept failing. Serenya guided him through ancient archives, where holographic scrolls unraveled like rivers of light. They discovered records suggesting the curse of barrenness wasn't natural at all but engineered. Aelthira's ancestors had been struck by a genetic weapon during a forgotten war. Marcus frowned at the glowing symbols. So let me get this straight. Some ancient jerks basically reprogrammed your DNA. That's evil science. Like comic book villain levels of evil. Exactly, Serenya said. And undoing it requires rewriting the bloodline itself. The conduits are not only ritual, but repair. Marcus scratched his head. Rewriting DNA with crystals powered by emotional bonding. You know, if I told anyone back home about this, they'd think I was drunk. You are not drunk, Serenya said firmly. Not yet, Marcus muttered. But jokes aside, the revelation changed everything. The rituals weren't just symbolic. They were a chance to overwrite centuries of genetic sabotage. That meant Marcus wasn't only a donor. He was the missing code. His human DNA, combined with Aelthiran resonance, could bypass the weapon's lock. It was overwhelming, the kind of responsibility that made his chest feel too small for his lungs. But whenever he faltered, Serenya's steady gaze anchored him. She seemed less a guide now, more a partner. The way she teased him, the way her rare smiles broke through her solemn mask, it all pulled him closer to her orbit. One evening, as they prepared for another attempt, Marcus caught her watching him. What? He asked, self-conscious. You hide your fear with humor, she said softly. But I see it, and I see your courage beneath it. He tried to brush it off. Or maybe I just really like jokes. Her ears twitched. Then I liked them too. For once, Marcus had no witty reply. The next day, when they re-entered the conduit chamber, he didn't feel alone. He carried Serenya's faith with him like a shield. And though the crystals flared violently again, though the AI once more offered unhelpful advice like, try smiling through the pain, Marcus endured. When the session ended, both he and Serenya collapsed to the floor, drained but alive. Serenya's hand brushed his as they caught their breath. Neither pulled away. And for the first time since arriving on Aelthira, Marcus thought maybe, just maybe, this wasn't only about saving a species. Maybe it was about saving himself too. The chamber pulsed like the heart of a giant, its crystalline walls glowing brighter than ever before. Marcus stood in the center, palms sweating, mind racing, stomach twisted into knots. Serenya faced him, calm as a star at rest, though her ears betrayed her nerves by twitching faster than usual. Around them, the council waited in silence, their hopes balanced precariously on one very confused human. The AI chirped happily. Final bonding sequence commencing. Warning. Outcome will be permanent and possibly dramatic. Marcus muttered. Yeah, thanks for the pep talk. Any chance of a refund if this goes wrong? No refunds, the AI replied cheerfully. He closed his eyes and took Serenya's hands. Okay, he whispered. Let's do this before I change my mind and run for the nearest escape pod. Her voice entered his thoughts, steady and certain. Do not run. Walk with me. The conduits flared, and suddenly their minds collided. Images and emotions burst like fireworks. Her memories of long nights staring at dying stars, his of drifting alone in his ship with nothing but static for company. Her loneliness met his, two hollow places filling each other. And then something shifted. The ancient lock inside her DNA, the weapon buried in her people's blood, recognized Marcus's human code and faltered. Pain lanced through him, but he forced a laugh. Okay, wow, it feels like my insides are rewriting themselves. Which, fun fact, is not on my bucket list. Hold, Serenya urged. Light engulfed them. The crystals sang, a sound like thunder and lullabies all at once. Energy wrapped their bodies, binding them not just in ritual but in something deeper. Marcus wanted to make another joke, but all he could do was cling to her presence as the storm tore through both of them. Then it stopped. Silence fell. He opened his eyes to find Serenya staring at him, tears glowing faintly on her cheeks. "It is done," she whispered. Marcus blinked. "Done? Like it worked? No error messages, no explosions." The AI chimed. "Correction. Minor explosions occurred in subroutines 2 and 4, but overall compatibility achieved. Congratulations. You have successfully rewritten an entire species." The council erupted in cheers. Serenya laughed through her tears, the sound lighter than he'd ever heard. Marcus staggered, catching himself on her shoulder. "So that's it? I just saved a planet, with zero training, and a lot of sarcasm. You know, I deserve a medal, or at least lifetime pancake privileges." Children pressed in from the corridors, their voices rising in a chant of Pan-Wielder. Pan-Wielder. Marcus groaned. "Oh no, the frying pan thing is sticking, isn't it?" Serenya's lips curved in a rare, unguarded smile. "It is legend now." In the days that followed, the first signs of healing spread across Aelthira. The conduit stabilized, the genetic curse broken. The women of the planet looked at Marcus with gratitude that bordered on reverence, though he tried to wave it away with jokes. Serenya, however, looked at him differently. Not as savior, not as outsider, but as partner. One evening, standing beneath the auroras, Marcus finally admitted aloud what had grown quietly between them. "You know, when I landed here, I thought I was just lost. Now I think maybe I was supposed to be lost, because it led me to you." Serenya tilted her head, her ears flicking softly. "And do you regret it?" He smiled, a rare, unguarded smile of his own. Not even a little. The universe, which had once felt too wide and empty, suddenly seemed smaller, warmer. He had arrived a wandering cartographer, a man without a place. Now he was something more. Bridge partner, father of a future not just written in stars, but in laughter and resilience. Marcus raised his hands to the night sky and said, "So, congratulations, Aelthira. You're stuck with me. No refunds." This time, even the auroras seemed to laugh with him. The end.